Welcome back to the second half of Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, Eric Donovan. We're going to get right into it with some races that came up this weekend. In fact, I think all the races we're showing were from this big Saturday.
Yeah, well, the first one actually I think was from Friday. I think the first one was from the 7th race from Friday. It's Ghost Story, the number 3 horse in here that we're taking a look at. A horse that was off a trainer change to Tony Dutchell, going to get slammed here at the start by the inside horse, the One Bad Action. And as we switch to the pan shot here, you're going to see exactly how this cost Ghost Story, partially early on, because the other horse in the race, the other co-favorite is the 5 Mike from Queens, who's going to get away to an easy lead here with the fact that the 3 is compromised at the start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it altered the way the race was run. The 3 Ghost Story was the slight favorite over the eventual winner. But Mike from Queens not only is able to get himself or herself very much to the lead, but also setting a very tepid pace on a track, as we had pointed out, that was pretty kind to inside speed. And Ghost Story was very much compromised by what happens to the start. But Eric and I disagree a little about this, and I can understand your point of view. Ghost Story was disappointing here, but I felt that what happened to start dramatically changed the way the race was run.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough gauge on these kind of issues sometimes, because you just don't know how Ghost Story was affected physically coming out of the gate there. Did he cut himself up a little bit being bumped so hard? Is that going to be one of the reasons why, when we show him in the stretch, why he's going to fade? And I thought a couple other horses ran better, including the horse that's behind him and outside of him. The horse that's behind him is the One Bad Action, who hit him at the start, and the horse that's outside of him is the number 6, Meet Me at the Chapel. And we see here Bad Action make I thought a premature 4-wide move here, and you're going to see the 6, Meet Me at the Chapel, kind of shuffle back a little bit.
Yeah, it's very interesting how the race changed, because the 6 was lapped on Ghost Story, and the 1 was behind him. The 1 makes that premature move, and the 6 ends up dropping out behind him. It's really fascinating to watch how much changed in this race. And what's interesting is there's the 6 behind. He can't get outside. Most horses prefer to get in the outside of the clear, but of course with the good inside, ends up going inside. And the 6 does very well, actually, to rally strongly on the inside.
He absolutely does. I mean, at this point, you don't think there's any way he's going to get second. I guess Bad Action gets a little bit tired for making that premature move, and maybe at the Chapel, who had some route experience, actually finishes up well. There you see the 3-horse Ghost Story finishing up there. I was disappointed in Ghost Story's effort, but it's going to be a tricky read with me when this horse runs back next time out. Like I said, you just don't know how sometimes those starts, being bumped at the start, physically affect the horse and their ability to finish in the stretch.
That's what I think, and I think Ghost Story is a horse based on its first race that will run well the next time it runs. I think this horse does have ability. But also this race was an interesting display of how race dynamics and premature moves affect horses. Whereas the 1 looked like it so easily at least had second wrapped up, but making that big premature move took a real toll at the end and enabled the 6, who got really compromised by that move, to re-rally again on the best part of the racetrack. But it's an interesting race to watch, and another race that we thought was very interesting, and this is the one that I thought was from Saturday, I was confused, is the 2nd race from this past Saturday, the 29th. And we'll start out by talking about a horse, Good and Acceptable, who's been on Trips and Traps a couple of times before, number 9.
Stumbles pretty significantly at the start. And this is a horse that we thought would be best suited running in maybe for a State Bred Maiden 50 or something like that. They ran him in open special weights, and this was a fairly tough special weight that he runs in here on the 29th. We'll see coming out of the gate not only the trouble for the 9 Good and Acceptable, but the number 3 horse in here, driven by Solar, who got bumped around a little bit at the start.
Yeah, he got bumped a bit, and he ends up steadying out completely here. And he was a first-time starter that took quite a bit of money. Tom Albertrani was the trainer. And also the 10 Catskill Bay broke about a length and a half slow, and that's him on the outside in the Aqua Silks. But of course, Driven by Solar has dropped out completely. And also, I want to point out, Good and Acceptable is chasing 3 wide on the outside, not a particular recipe for success in this racetrack. But there's Driven by Solar, once again, trying to rally up inside of horses. And you'll see very soon, he's going to steady once again.
Yeah, it's a nightmarish trip for Driven by Solar. I think last week we said that Abarcoa on a horse that had broke poorly did a good thing by just kind of keeping it back and making one run. Well, this was the exact opposite of the ride here. This is what happens when you rush up after a slow start and you get yourself into trouble. Now, I mean, at this point, Mike from Queens is, sorry, not Mike from Queens, Driven by Solar has absolutely no shot to really hit the board in here. First-time starter that had a lot of adversity early on. That definitely, this race is a throw-out race, and I think next time out you got to really give him some serious consideration.
Absolutely, made a few moves. Now we're going to take another look at Catskill Bay, and you just keep your eye on this horse coming through. And there's Malin Studart trying to move the horse through inside of horses. She likes to save ground. She's got a lot of courage. Well, of course, it shuts off on her. And she does a good job of swinging the horse to the outside, but I consider the slow break, the little bit of trouble there, rallying on the outside. And this was a race where the 1-2 finishers were 1-2 around the racetrack, or 2-1. And this horse was a first-time star for Rodrigo Ubillo. And Rodrigo doesn't have a lot of horses. And this horse actually took a little bit of money in a very contentious race. And I thought ran pretty well, all things considered.
Absolutely. I guess going to be beaten about the 7 1/4 lengths here. Finishes up nicely on the outside. Just misses getting the show spot there. But I think KATSKILL is certainly a horse that's going to demand some attention next time out, probably on the inner track. Maybe they try to stretch him out a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I won't be surprised to see this horse stretch out, and I won't be surprised at all when Driven by Solar runs a completely different race. And next time he runs a race under his belt, gets out of the gate a little better, doesn't have any trouble. Driven by Solar can run, and Good and Acceptable didn't run that badly. I think just beaten for 4th or 5th in the race, chasing on the outside, stumble to start. Don't give up on Good and Acceptable. I know it seems like we're chasing this horse, but he's never really run back into an easy spot or had a good trip. He's okay, that horse.
The next race we'll take a look at. The final race on the segment is the Remsen for 2-year-olds run here on Saturday. There was a big favorite in this race coming up from Delaware. Trainer Larry Jones had the 6-horse Old Fashioned, who's going to get right to the lead here fairly quickly and establish things on the front end and win very easily.
Yeah, this is a horse that a lot of people are talking about, and I know he's going to win the Triple Crown. And good. I hope he's going for the Triple Crown for Belmonte. That's for sure, him or somebody. But Good and Acceptable. Old Fashioned. I've got Good and Acceptable on my brain. Old Fashioned gets the easiest of easy trips. Not only a track kind inside speed, but he is walking on the front end.
He is. I mean, with a horse like this, though, where do you say that, you really can't knock him? Because he just turns out that he's the best horse in the race. He's the quickest horse in the race early on. His jockey, Ramon Dominguez, has him under a double stranglehold here. He's just going very slowly, just galloping along here on the backstretch. I know things set up perfectly for him here, but is it fair to knock him, you think?
I'm not knocking him. What I'm saying is it's very premature to get overly excited by this win. This pace was almost a 1.5 seconds slower to the half mile than the pace in the Demoiselle. And they're crawling, and everybody's wide trips. Look at the 5 behind him, Hold Me Back, who's been wide in the turn, making that wide move down the backstretch. It's nothing that Johnny Velasquez can do. There's this slow pace. The horse is totally victimized. I don't know how much ability he has, but Old Fashioned, who is absolutely the best horse in this field, and I don't know how much that's saying, because I'm not sure how good the whole field is overall, but also he's in the best part of the racetrack. And look at the 1, Atomic Rain, who finishes 2nd, sucking up on the rail the whole way. This was a horse that hadn't run since June and ran a 4.5 furlong and 5 furlong race.
Yeah, this horse really caught my eye when I saw him in the entrance. I said, this horse hasn't run such a long time, going 1 1/8 miles. He's going to be a big price in here, but runs very well. And I think Atomic Rain, certainly it speaks volumes of the confidence Kelly Breen had in this horse to run him in a spot like this. This horse, Atomic Rain, could turn out to be okay, but there was just no beating Old Fashioned this day. You see Ramon Dominguez do the patented a couple looks back. He showed him the whip a couple times, runs off very impressively here. Old Fashioned certainly going to be one of the more talked about horses throughout the winter.
Yeah, and I will be talking about how much I'm against him in every one of his starts. First of all, I was reading up, people said he could have run faster. Horses pretty much can't run faster. They run as fast as they can the majority of the time. Obviously, sometimes they're geared down. We did see the winner of the Fall High Weight was geared down a little bit when he won. But this horse is a very nice horse, but the race dynamics make his race look better than it is. And now he's going to the front of everybody's Triple Crown list, and I'm going to hold back my enthusiasm.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see if he ends up behind horses in a race going 2 turns. He was behind horses in his career debut when he won at Delaware. That was going 6 furlongs, though. He won his next start at Delaware going wire to wire. If he has to sit behind horses going long, taking the dirt, see how he reacts to that, I think that'll be the key for Old Fashioned.
Yeah, and also maybe he'll face some tougher fields. We hope that the fields get tougher, and certainly if they include a very impressive maiden winner from Saturday at some point, a horse that actually made its debut for Jimmy Jerkins and got a 1 point higher Beyer fig, a very impressive horse to look for.
And that horse's name was?
It's completely escaping me.
Quality Road.
Quality Road. Quality Road is a very good horse.
Took a second for me to get it in my head, too. I knew it was elusive Quality Road. That does it for this installment of Trips and Traps. We thank you for watching, and we really appreciate your emails. We love hearing from you, and we love hearing what you have to say about the show, and maybe some suggestions of races that you might have for us to show.
Yeah, and get those suggestions in before we come in on Wednesday morning. Otherwise, we can't cover them. If you can get them in on the weekend, we'll do our best to get the races on.
That does it for us. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Good luck at the track.